There's a type of exhaustion a lot of men are carrying right now that nobody really talks about. Not normal tiredness, not "I need more sleep" tired. I'm talking about the kind of exhaustion that sits in your chest. The kind where you wake up already mentally drained before your feet even hit the floor. The kind where everything in your life starts feeling heavier than it should. Work, bills, people, conversations, even things you used to love. And the worst part? A lot of us don't even realize we're burned out because we're still functioning. We still go to work, still answer texts, still show up, still handle responsibilities, still crack jokes, still pretend we're okay. But internally, we're running on fumes. And I think a lot of men have been living like this for so long that exhaustion feels normal now. That's dangerous. Because men usually don't break down all at once. We burn out slowly, quietly, over years. One disappointment at a time, one responsibility at a time, one sleepless night at a time, one sacrifice at a time. Until eventually, we wake up one day and realize we don't even recognize ourselves anymore. And honestly, I think a lot of men watching this already know exactly what I'm talking about. You ever sit in your car before work and just stare for a minute? Not because you're lazy, not because you don't want to work, but because your brain is already exhausted and the day hasn't even started yet? You ever notice how people keep talking to you and you're listening, but mentally you're somewhere else? Like your body is present, but you aren't really there anymore? You ever come home after a long day and realize you don't even have the energy to do the things you used to enjoy? Video games feel empty. The gym starts feeling like another obligation. Movies don't hold your attention. You scroll your phone for hours because you want to escape your own mind for a little while. That's burnout. And a lot of men don't recognize it because nobody taught us what burnout actually looks like in men. People think burnout means crying on the bathroom floor or completely falling apart. But for men, burnout often looks functional. That's why it gets ignored. A burned out man usually still goes to work, still pays the bills, still handles problems, still says, "I'm good." Even when internally he feels emotionally flat, disconnected, irritable, empty. And I think one of the reasons this hits men so hard is because most of us were raised to believe our value comes from what we can endure. How much we can carry, how much pressure we can survive, how useful we are to other people. A lot of men grow up feeling like rest has to be earned, that slowing down is weakness, that asking for help makes you a burden. So instead of stopping when we're overwhelmed, we push harder and harder and harder, even when our minds are screaming for a break. Because deep down, a lot of men believe, if I stop, everything falls apart. And maybe that sounds dramatic, but for some men, it's true. Some men genuinely feel like there is no safety net, nobody coming to rescue them, nobody checking if they're okay. They feel like they have to keep moving no matter how exhausted they are, because life doesn't pause for men. Bills still show up, work still expects performance, people still need things from you. And eventually you stop living and start surviving. I think that's where a lot of men are right now. Survival mode. Not building a life, not enjoying life, just damage control. Just trying to make it to Friday. And after enough time in survival mode, something changes in you. You stop feeling excited about the future. You stop dreaming. You stop looking forward to things. You stop feeling emotionally connected to your own life. Everything becomes routine. Wake up, work, stress, distract yourself, sleep, repeat. And if you're not careful, years disappear like that. That's the scary part about burnout. It steals your ability to feel alive while convincing you this is just adulthood. And burnout doesn't always come from one huge tragedy either. Sometimes it's death by 1,000 small cuts. Constant stress, constant pressure, never feeling appreciated, always being the dependable one, always solving problems for everyone else while ignoring your own, never feeling emotionally safe enough to let your guard down, always carrying the weight quietly. That kind of pressure changes people. I know for me personally, there have been periods in my life where I was so mentally exhausted that even basic things felt difficult. Not physically difficult, mentally. Answering messages, pretending to be okay around people, trying to act normal, all felt draining. And the scary thing about burnout is eventually you stop noticing how bad it's gotten because numbness becomes your baseline. You adapt to misery. You get so used to functioning while exhausted that you forget what peace even feels like. That's why some men become irritable all the time, not because they're bad people, not because they enjoy being angry, but because burnout shortens your emotional fuse. When your mind is overloaded constantly, small things start feeling massive. A simple inconvenience feels overwhelming. A minor problem feels personal. And a lot of men never realize their anger is actually exhaustion. That's also why burned out men often disappear into distractions. Alcohol, porn, video games, working non-stop, scrolling endlessly, hookups. Anything that temporarily shuts the brain off, not because those things heal us, but because for a few minutes they help us escape the pressure. The problem is, escaping isn't the same as recovering. And eventually your body collects the debt, your mind collects the debt, your relationships collect the debt, your soul collects the debt. And I think a lot of men are reaching a point where they genuinely don't know how much longer they can keep carrying everything alone. But here's the part I really need men to hear. Burnout does not mean you're weak. It means you've been overloaded for too long without enough recovery, support, peace, or purpose. Any machine breaks if you run it non-stop. Human beings are no different. And despite what a lot of men were taught growing up, you are not a machine. You are not just a provider. You are not just a worker. You are not just a problem solver. You are a human being, and human beings cannot survive endless pressure without consequences. Something eventually breaks. Your health, your mind, your relationships, your sense of identity, something pays the price. I think a lot of men are terrified to admit they're burned out because they think saying it out loud means they failed somehow. But recognizing burnout is awareness. Because if you ignore burnout long enough, eventually it starts turning into deeper things. Depression, isolation, hopelessness, numbness. And once a man reaches the point where he feels emotionally disconnected from his own life, climbing out becomes much harder. That's why this matters. And I think one of the biggest lies men are told is that strength means carrying everything alone, silently, forever. That's not strength, that's survival. Real strength is recognizing when the weight is crushing you before it destroys you. Real strength is admitting you're exhausted instead of pretending you're invincible. Real strength is understanding that you deserve peace too. Not just responsibility, not just pressure, not just survival, peace. And maybe nobody has told some of you this in a long time, but you are allowed to rest. Not quit, not give up, rest. There's a difference, because a man who never recovers eventually becomes a shell of himself. And I don't think most men want luxury or perfection. I think most men just want to feel alive again, to wake up without dread, to feel connected again, to enjoy things again. To stop carrying the world alone for 5 minutes. And if that's where you are right now, I need you to understand something. You are not crazy. You are not lazy. You are not broken. You are burned out. And maybe the first step toward healing is finally being honest about how heavy life has become. Because men don't usually break down overnight. We burn out slowly. And too many good men are silently disappearing inside themselves because nobody ever taught them that even the strong need recovery too.